Hello guys. Hello. I am really tired. I am not gonna lie. Not because I lack sleep or anything specific, but just because it is very lukewarm today. So I'm kind of just sitting and it's not hot enough to be horrible, but it's also just it's so lukewarm and dry in the air that I just feel tired. I just want to still go to sleep. It's a little early for that. But today is just pretty much more Smite 2. I want to try some more stuff out. See if I can do something fun in solo. Ringrave, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. And good to see you. Which mages did they add you can play in solo? Probably none of them, to be honest. I'm not sure any of the mages work in solo very well. Hades. Hades is the only one.
Hades.
And speaking of that, I'll probably do Hades. And he's got a skin now as well. Don't like it.
Hades.
I think Hades is pretty much the only one. All the other mages are pretty low mobility and very easy to gank as a result. Not to mention the warriors at the moment. Are pretty good mage killers, I would say. Like the current burst mages in the game, or just mages in general, is Sol, who is, mainly an ADC, but you can probably mid her as well. You wouldn't go for her in solo. Zeus, low mobility, obviously high damage. Could maybe work in some cases. Not sure. Hekate, who is new. Very good mage, I would say, but zero mobility. Once again, you're just gonna get bullied in the early stages of the game. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Bro, Odin, Ares. Like, I don't want to save my ult every time for Ares ult. I'm gonna go with Combat Blink. Let me see how this works. I don't know which one would be best for Hades of these, to be honest. If you're building Brawler, like for the most part it's probably Archmage, but... Not sure. What's a good warrior killer then? I mean, most things late game, I would say. Most ADCs, but most things in the early game. Now, this is obviously going by Smite 1 rules. Most things just can't beat warriors in the early game, because warriors have pretty high base stats on top of a good amount of base damage as well. Warriors are just naturally very powerful in the early game.
You have morbid taste.
Warriors definitely dominate in that regard. There's obviously exceptions here and there, like some Guardians, maybe some ADCs, maybe some potential assassins, but mages tend to be more of a scaling god. They just tend to be not great in the early levels, especially because they also need a few levels to get online. Like, a lot of mages have big ultimates, so you need level 5 for that. So, it depends.
Seek out the weaker souls.
Under attack. First blood.
That's his blink down. I gotta remember everything is instant cast now. Still getting used to it on some gods. Hades, I just have not gotten used to that so far. Bad dash. I could have used that to follow him instead. Man. Didn't think the tower was gonna reach me. Stupid tower. This is the problem, you know? Tower is not on my side.
I shall rise
Yeah.
again.
That's just bad. I was greedy. Also, I forgot the item that I would usually go with on Hades. I think it's the shield item. What is that thing called again? This one. I should just backed. What do you mean everything is instant? Well, I always use normal cast. And so for Smite 2, I am getting used to instant cast. So literally everything for me is an instant cast now. That's what I mean. I don't play with instant cast normally, so this is very weird for me. Only a very select few abilities in Smite 1 was instant cast for me, and obviously some abilities are just instant cast.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, you can change in settings, I know. This is what I've done. I'm just getting used to it, yeah. Because I haven't, as I just said, like I used normal cast pretty much my whole Smite career on everything. Recently I swapped a few abilities to instant in Smite 1, only a very select few. But I am not used to having instant cast on most gods. So when I play Hades, my brain is wired to do something specific, because I'm not used to having everything on instant cast. And so I sometimes just press shit a bit too early. Most on most abilities it's fine, but on dashes and like, let's say if it was like in an Ulu 3 would be weird for me. Stuff like that. When I need to use the targeter, I'm not used to that, because I would use the abilities, you know, whatever you want to call the thing that you use to see it, like it's ghost to aim it, essentially. If that makes any sense. Right. I'll grab this before I'm back. I still do not know a good hybrid build. I have no idea. Oh, this item has been nerfed, I see. It's way less intelligence than it used to.
Killing spree.
Who's getting real fat? The duo lane? It seems. Where is it, Neath? Oh, Neath is mid, so
Your right
mid is getting
tower
fat.
is under attack. Rampage.
And now Thana isn't doing so hot.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Damn. If I had that fear, man was dead. Stealth my ability up. Or my active item.
Your middle tower is under attack.
My honor has one item. He's buying stuff. Actually, he doesn't even have any item yet. No, that's not true. Never mind. He's buying stuff. Hey, Neo, what's up, man? Hope you're doing nice today. I'm feeling great today, but I am very, very tired. As I said when I began, I'm just... Bro, your tower, dude.
Your team has destroyed a right enemy left flank.
I'm staying, I guess. Kind of out of mana though. Because Hekate went and took my blue buff. One day I'll hit these autos. If you jump... That's combo blink. I'll take it. Dude, you're okay. Don't worry, man. You're alright. Bad mana, though. Doing great, but your water problem migrated to me. You have no water today? That is pretty funny. What happened? Why don't you have water? um... Scrap Merlin. I believe this lets me, yeah, I can use a non-ability, or non-ultimate ability twice. Or one for free, I should say. The entire street is no water today until 10 PM because they're doing some work up the street. Ah. Did they at least issue like a warning? Or like a notice or something so that you could, you know, prepare some water in the fridge? Of course not? Well, great. So that's just fantastic. I'm guessing you had to go buy some water in the... like the local store.
Your left tower is under attack.
I'm not surrendering. Hell nah. I'm doing great over here. We're not really that far behind either. And XP? Yeah, definitely. But nowhere else. Go away, Odin. I see you. Interesting. So if you even if you Comet Blink out, you still get hit by one of the Odin ring spears, I guess, whatever you want to call them, if you get out of the ring. So that's interesting and good to know.
Your middle tower is under
Did our mid laner just give up? Go mid, bro. I also need some cooldown now that I'm looking at it. My ult is a long ass cooldown. I was ready to tank that ult for him. Yeah, they went with pretty heavy physics on clothing. Like, you should see Hekate's like cape. Also, the jumping is so funny because you can move in the air now. It just makes it so goofy. I don't mind it though. I think it's kind of charming. And I believe something new to this alpha as well. You can use more than one buff at a time now. And they've tried this before in Smite 1 a long time ago. I will say though, like, it actually feels good. Could you still feel it a little bit better? Yes. But I think the game legitimately feels good to play in this current state. Which is why I don't mind playing it now. The only thing that I'm missing is the gods that I actually like to play. Because there aren't that many in this one. None of my top 5 or 10 even favorite gods probably are in this. Maybe outside of like Honor, but again, I'm mostly a solo laner, so I can't really use that much.
enemy ultimate down.
Let's get Murden on, and this gave me a bit of both actually. Okay, I gotta use it more, man. I have stealth, guys. I want you guys to think about that. I have stealth. I just gotta be better at using my abilities here. I'll use one just because my fingers. All right, listen to me. You gotta use your fucking abilities, man. This is your job. You have one job. Just press it. No, my fingers always forget. I also have 3 now, though. Doesn't make it easy. Looks a lot more watchable, which is more than before, which is a big plus. That's good. That's good. My friend, you dashed the wrong way, or jumped the wrong way. I was prepared for the Murden if I had to do it twice. I'm also unsure how like, are you supposed to see everyone in the jungle? Because you can at the moment. Like, if someone is walking in the jungle, like, there's no fog of war at all right now. Look, I can see the Thanatos over there. Like, no issue. I should just be pushing right instead. They do have areas, which is pretty scary. Because if my ult is down, I don't actually have anything for him. A single ult. I'm going home. You have Thanatos realizes I'm low. Yeah, I'm screwing this up a bit. I'm trying to use all of my little active items, but I don't know when I need to use my Staff of Murden. My brain has a hard time comprehending that still. You think Ares ult looks better? Yeah, I'm not sure I like the, the knock-up pool type thing. I'm not sure. I think personally it looks better, because the instant transportation chain I'm not sure is to my liking either. Ares ult has always been kind of weird. I don't think either of them are that good. Just visually. But I also don't think wasting more time being inside, like in the air, while you're being transported, like literally knocked up over there, isn't better either. Because it just feels like a longer CC then. I'm not sure. I don't know. If I can... I guess probably for the double dash, I guess. Is double 3 or double dash? Double fear is nice situationally. Now I have to ult as a response, which kind of sucks. Chains do so much damage, dude. It's unreal. Yeah. Chains... The problem with Ares right now is not even his ult, it's how much damage his chains do. He's completely busted in terms of damage right now. It's rough. Can I tell? It's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. But some more protection probably also wouldn't be a bad idea here. What about some double protection here? It's a good double protection item. That's only physical. Stampede. I'll grab this one. I don't like the new passive buffs class they added. You mean essentially the starter items? Like these? I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's a starter item, right? I think it's fine. I don't have any problem with them. I think they're alright. I think they didn't add starters because it takes up an item slot, so they probably experimented with a different way to implement it. Kind of like how boots took up a spot for no reason, instead of just having that movement speed in general. Kind of like that mindset, I guess. That's just speculation, though. I'm out. I don't want to deal with this Ares, dude. If anyone is a problem, it's Ares. Bro, you gotta get him, alright? Thank you. You gotta get more though, actually, now that I'm saying it. They really want me now. Good, I went protection. But I have 4, I'm not helping myself here, I have 4 active items, and I didn't press a single one of them. Yeah, you use 3 in your ult. You can use all your abilities as Hades in your ultimate. You can only choose one though, that's the thing. You can use one ability in your ult, but you can choose which one of the 3 you want to use. So yes, you can double 3, you can just fear, which I think is great, by the way. I think the fear is a good thing. I don't think you should be able to 3 though. Because what you can do is dash in, 3, ult, 3 again. You can do so much damage, it is insane. But I think most good players will be able to counter that somewhat easily. So I don't think it is insanely busted, but Hades is very good. And I need something. I forgot what it was. Damn, what did I need? What would be good? Potentially more cooldown. Actually, no, I don't need that much cooldown. Not really. I definitely don't need another active item, I can tell you that. I'll probably just go Soul Devourer. Budget.
Your left Phoenix is under attack.
That was pretty close. Sol definitely hurts. Not someone I want to box. I guess I'll defend left as well. My team is pushing mid. They can have fun with that. It is funny though. The only god who has technically gotten nerfed in Smite 2 is Susano. Everyone else has got like quality changes and some pretty sweet upgrades, to be honest. And then Susano, they were like, nah, we don't need more of this guy. Get him out. He's done. And this is what I mean. I can just see them no matter where I go. They are just always visible. Fine, take me. Stealth is so funny. Damn. My team didn't get her in time. That's so funny though. Still, I gotta still get better at using my shit. I have 3 active items up. I just forget them sometimes. Is FPS improved in this alpha? I mean, personally, I've never had any FPS problems outside of in the beginning of the stream yesterday. I did, but after I restarted my game, there was no problem for me. So that's pretty much all I can say to it. Like, I don't have any problems in this game, at least. So it might be something in my settings. I usually turn down the super heavy stuff like shadows. Maybe that might help for other people as well. Shadows just tend to make games run much worse. It's so heavy. But outside of that, I don't know why people might have FPS problems. Like, as you can see for me, it's running super smooth.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Are they on gold or not? I should probably grew with my team either way. Use wings here for some movement speed. No! You can definitely have a lot of fun with items like that. I just used essentially 3 of my active items in this engagement. One of them is a slow immune that also gives me 20% movement speed. Another one is stealth for what? How long does that last? 6 seconds. And a third one, it lets me use an ability for free without using its cooldown. So you can do some pretty interesting stuff. And I imagine some very, very busted stuff that people just haven't figured out completely just yet. That being said, these items can obviously pretty much only be used on gods who use intelligence. Some gods do not use intelligence, they use strength, and then they have other different active items that they can use instead. I don't like that you can see people in the jungle though. He is dead. We do have 1 DC, which is unfortunate. I didn't realize she wasn't here for a while, I didn't see that she was DC'd. I guess she's probably the one who wanted to surrender.
Your middle tower is under attack.
And yes, we have Combat Blink back, so I can do shit like that. Combat Blink can indeed be used while channeling the Hades ultimate, as well as Ymir's ultimate, as well as Ares' ultimate. Probably a bunch of other shit too. And that I don't think you should be able to do. That's definitely a big no for me. That's a bit much. Is it fun though? Yes. Yes it is. I'm gonna grab a 3k pot. Intelligence and upgrade that. Don't die, team. You can't fight without me.
Killing spree. Killing spree. Killing spree.
No! Damn it. Couldn't react fast enough to that. At least I remembered my actives this time.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. Your right tower is under attack.
I don't think they added anything else that you can buy here. Yeah. So once you bought your 3k pot, you're just kind of done with using gold. Because you don't buy words either. You're just kind of given words always. You only have one. And honestly, I do think that's a good change. And that's also that kind of makes the Fog of War less needed. Because then you rely on your eyes instead. But still. Okay, so I want to see if I can catch this salt somewhere. Rotate over, see if I can help out over here. And also, I still don't like teleporters. They shouldn't be here.
Your right tower is under attack.
That's beats. I'm guessing they had warts, because he chained me quick. He might as well also have just seen me. My ult's back up. I want to see if we can catch someone. Well, I'll take the trade, I guess. I'll take the trade. He is quite tanky. He just went full protection. Yeah.
Rampage. Double kill.
This is unfortunate, because this is actually a pretty good game, and we probably could have won if we had our mage. Assuming she wasn't feeding. She was doing alright. I mean, 2-5 isn't horrible.
Your middle phoenix is under attack.
Your middle phoenix
Your
is
middle
under
phoenix
attack.
has been destroyed. Your titan is under attack.
Still somewhat unfortunate, but I'll trade on Ares' ult for my ult. His has a... I don't know, I guess actually in this case we probably need my ult. Got strength as well, even though I don't need it. And pots are, in fact, permanent in Smite 2 as well.
Cerberus needs a new toy.
Kinda wasted my word like an idiot. Yeah, I figured they were probably waiting around.
Enemies in the right lane.
Your right Phoenix is under attack. Your right Phoenix has been destroyed.
No, Ymir, why did you ult? Why didn't you wall or anything? We got Ares, boys. I probably should surrender though. We don't really have a chance. Our enemy team is competent enough to stay grouped all the time.
Your left Phoenix has been
Oof.
Ironic.
We tried. It was a fun game at least. And they never actually went for fire. They could have done that so many times. GG's. You do have match history now. Oh. Maybe you don't. We do. Okay. Yeah, so those were the games I played yesterday as well. And this one just crashed for me, so I don't know about this one. But I know my team won. You can't really look at them, I guess. No details. You can just see that they happened. Yeah, Soul Lane is definitely a bit stale. Looking at other lanes too. There's so many things you can play in mid. There's so many things you can play in ADC. Well, so many things. Alright, maybe that's going a bit far, but... Well, underneath Sol, Keranos. I suppose that's about it. So 4 ADCs as well. Well, Warriors is 3 Warriors still. And then, I mean, you could play something like Ymir as well in solo. So ADC and solo are probably the most stale at the moment. Jungle is much bigger. I feel you can play a few different things there. And they just got Susano and Thanatos in the last 2 alphas as well. And I mean, support is... I mean, I guess every role is kind of lacking, to be fair. I just don't know which one I should be playing, to be honest.
Odin.
I'll get an Odin game in. Kinda made me want to play Odin after seeing the Odin from our last game. Because I don't think he should have... part of me kind of feel like he should have won the matchup. Maybe not won the matchup, but like... stalemated it. He definitely had kill potential on me a few times. But I also played it kind of bad. I do not think Odin wins against Ymir though, if I'm against Ymir. There is kill potential for sure. I don't know if I like the Bruiser build. What do we have here? I'll try Sunder this time. And Barbarian.
Thanks. May luck
Have
find
fun.
you well.
Have fun. 3 pots. Probably strength as usual. Just what then? Maybe something that gives both strength and protection. I mean, that's the only one. I don't know if I like this item in general. It's definitely not bad, but a part of me kind of prefers this one if you have to go for anything, because it gives you health, it gives you attack speed, and it gives you strength. And AoE autos, essentially. Or like, it's like a golden shard passive. So I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud anyway.
Minions have spawned.
Did Odin's jump always look like this? It's weird how Odin's jump kind of feels good to use. Hades doesn't feel that good. It feels a little weird. But he also doesn't have legs. This man start with his wall? Because it sure seems like he started with his wall. He started with his wall.
Your left tower is under attack.
I'm glad they approved jungle prac. Did they approve jungle practice? I haven't checked. He's just wacky waving inflatable arm. Pretty much, yeah. He's actually, yeah, that's true. He is just one of those. Oh, hi. Where did you even come from, man? I appreciate this snack, though. That's so funny. Now I cannot unsee it. It definitely is. Are we diving this? Yes. Did it tower de-aggro me as I jumped? What the fuck? That can't be right. There's no way that's intended if that just happened. He doesn't have any bones. He might not. He might not have any bones. Maybe he's just a big shadow man underneath all his ropes. I feel like Hera, only Hera would know, right? Wink, wink. You did. Get sundered. Sunder is a dot now. Oops.
Simply magical.
I'm loving Sunder in solo. Me too. I think it's great. I actually do enjoy it, but I just don't like it in general, if that makes sense. It makes your life much easier, but in a bad way, you know? No! Creeps, don't. Okay, don't tank creeps, they still hurt. Okay, next up. What are you building, Ymir? Ymir is building tanky, okay. Well, never mind then. I don't know what he's actually going for then. Let's go for a double protection situation here. Let's get Hussar's Wings. Might as well get the slow immune item early while I can against the Ymir.
Be careful!
The only reason why, as I was, before I got distracted, I wanted to say that my problem with the Hog being back, which is now Sunder, is that it just heavily incentivizes invading. So in competitive play, I don't like this item. On top of that, while I do think it's cool that it's not just a hog now, and I'm glad it's not a stun as well, but you can just use it as a damage thing as well. So, that's also a bit of a 50-50. I'm not really sure I like that either. It's just a weird item to have in Smite. It just doesn't really fit in my opinion. Every meta where it's been has always been really, really weird and not very fun. Maybe it's just because I play solo and I always lose my blue buff. if this fucking item is in the meta. But still. You didn't know it worked like that? You just have been using it to kill gods? Oh yeah, it works like Hawk, yeah. It works exactly like Hawk. And when you go above, like, I believe 10, level 10, it, like, ups the damage on it too. Let me see, what is it? Yeah, yeah, at level 10 plus, it deals 1000 damage. So we're back to Hawk being an objective secure. And I just don't like that. It becomes fucking weird. People are gonna start doing heavy invade strats and use it just to secure everything, because you can secure everything with it. You're just gonna run around taking everyone's buffs, and it's just weird. It's a big I don't like it for me. Like, no meta was made better because of this item. Did he just ward? Yeah, he did. I heard the sound. Aw, dude, you just blinked further in the ring. Oh, man. Alright. You just have to rely on your team with FG as a sub? That's true. That is true. You have more agency as a support with it. That's for sure. I want... Where is it? I want you. I gotta get better at using you, because you're disgusting. So, this creates a mushroom that heals 5% of your HP every second for 5 seconds. This is a 25% AoE heal on an item. There is zero reason for you not to buy this item as a frontline. Also, who the fuck is invading my blue buff? Don't you know I have Sunder?
Killing spree.
Killing spree. Well, I am certified big suck.
Unstoppable team has destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Stand your ground.
Yeah. Oh, we're fighting? Because I'll fight. I think most of the auto is better in Smite 1 still. I've said it before, like some of the visuals in Smite 2 are definitely better. Like Bellona's 2 I think looks great. But Bellona's 2, again, same ability, I think looks better, but lacks impact. If he dashed after me there, I would have went for it. I would be down. Yes, under secure. I actually wasn't sure she died. Another thing, I think the Smite kill icon needs to be more, boom. A kill happened. The big thing with Smite 1 and a kill happened, it does the big, like 2 big swords that go down and you just instantly hear it. For me, it just doesn't stand out. Sometimes I don't even realize a kill happens. This could just be a personal problem, though. I'm not sure how other people feel about it. No! No. Oh.
Killing spree.
Oh, man. That sucks. Devastation.
Enemy missing right.
I do not know where Ymir has gone. Oh, he went AFK, never mind. Shit. I'm sorry, Ymir. He left the game. Yeah, that's so weird. So creeps and towers just seem to ignore you when you go into jumps. That's really weird. That makes diving so easy. You just dive and you jump to de-aggro? Also, towers still don't do any damage. There's also that. You can die very fucking easily.
Thanks.
Your left tower is under attack.
That was a nice 3, thank you. Let's get this mushroom. Okay. I can't do stealth on Odin because it's magical. Or intelligence, excuse me. Hasten Fatalis in the game. Don't think I want that. I'll grab Mirror. Actually, no. What was the... No, not that. Damn, what is the active item I'm looking for?
Shut down.
This one. I'm grabbing this one. You said intelligence with such disdain. It's just unnecessary to change, man. You could just say physical and magical, right? That's what you've been saying in Smite 1. Why would you change the words? Why is it now strength and intelligence? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Why are you changing something that didn't need changing? It is simply unnecessary. It literally means the same thing. That's the thing. If it was a new system, sure. Sure. But, whatever. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. Like, again,
Attack left lane.
I'm autistic. I don't like change. I very much don't like change. It sticks with me. Until I get used to it, and then I never think about it again. Until a change happens again. And suddenly I'm really bothered by everything again. Such is my life. Changes are no-no.
Rampage.
Fuck changes. Changes piss me off. I hate them. Intelligence sounds smart. That's true. That's actually a good point, yeah. Finally, I can say that I have intelligence. Even if it's just in Smite. At least I can say those words. And having me in the same conversation and sentence. It's true. Ooh, hello. I like the little... zzz. Oh, you went right into this. Right, I haven't used any of my items yet. What is this one? This is a rank 2. So this just gives protection. Like bloop, bloop. And just gain some protection. Okay. Alright, right. The tower shits out gold. I gotta remember that.
On my way.
Right, I'm gonna take some damage here. Oh no. I can't believe I took so much damage. I'm gonna shit out a mushroom. Yeah. Alright, heal me back up, Mr. Mushroom. Thank you.
Be careful.
Yeah, I gotta get used to pressing those buttons. That's about it. Some of them barely have any cooldown. Like, look at this shit. 60 seconds? 60 seconds? Just press it, man. You have literally zero reason not to just press it. Now I go home. Can you change relic? No, as far as I know, you can't. No, I don't think you can. You you could press sell. As far as I know, I have not sold it. Yeah, I can still shit out lightning, so... No, you cannot. Also, yeah, just these things right down here just seem to be locked. This is a no fun allowed zone. Where is this shit again? Yeah, I'm trying this one out. Let's give it a shot. And then I just need something with more strength. That's also an active. Don't need actives anymore. We're good. I mean, that's not actually kind of bad, to be honest. I could do this. I'll do this instead, actually. Screw it. I want to see just how building almost full tank is gonna do. I might as well give it a shot. See how it feels. Yeah, the Hexstone is OP, I'm telling you. I'll give it a shot. I have the other OP things. I have the immunity to slow, I have my Giga Heal, and now I have Polymorph. I'm coming for your brothers. Oh shit. It didn't last as long as I thought. No! The police was here apparently. Susano dipped out. Where the hell did he go? Alright, never mind then. So it charges up, from what I can tell. So you're kind of like almost stunned for like a half second, and then it goes, which is a bit weird.
Group up. Follow me. Your team has destroyed a middle enemy.
Fenrir!
Follow me.
There you go, Fenrir. Eat my mushroom. There we go. See? Now you feel better. I pressed it too soon.
I'm just getting warmed up.
I'm sure you guys got her. No. The creeps got him. Okay. Come back.
Welcomes me.
Okay. Odin Ring is a bit strange, because it's not instant. It takes a little while, because he has to put down his shitty animation first. But it's much bigger, I feel like. Does Phantom exist? It does not.
Okay.
Maybe in an item it actually might. Never mind. Maybe I'm speaking too soon. It might exist in an item somewhere. You have so many tools to get away, it's actually insane. It's an item? Okay. That's good to know. Let's get some magical protection as well. Maybe a bit of mix, actually. Do you have a good mix here? A healing reduction, don't think I need that. Enemy hit by your heart CC. Actually, yeah. This is a, what is the item called? The one that's pretty good right now. I forgot what it's called now. Arch Druid? That's an Arch Druid passive, right? reducing protections when you hit by a CC.
Killing spree.
The game seems a little more fluent. It does feel much better. It's still not as snappy as Smite, as my one,
Attack the
but it does
fire
feel good.
giant.
As mentioned, it does actually feel good.
On my way.
No longer bad or just meh. It feels good. I like how they just kind of made Fire Giant a raid boss compared to before. Like, he has mechanics now. A lot more than before.
Move up. Attack middle lane.
Yeah, what the fuck? Odin is a boar? Yeah, he is. Kind of. Shit. I hit him. I shot him in with Sunder. Kill him, Sunder. Kill him, Sunder. I'm not taking any damage. I can do this all day. I'm Steve Rogers over here. My team doesn't agree. We should not be doing this all day, I guess. Hit the Phoenix team, please! I'm not taking a whole lot of damage, but... still... I don't like that on her pillar. Kinda stands out in my eyes. Good job, team. We won. They did have a DC, so it was unfortunate. I killed Ymir 3 times very early in lane, and then he left. So a big sad, but... yeah, the pace this game is setting is a bit unhealthy in the long run. The program and artists might work over time, fix new gods. I do think at the moment it takes a little too long for new gods to appear in Smite 2. Because if they want all the gods to be in the game by release, it's gonna take a fucking long time for this game to come out. Like, I got pretty fed this game, but I actually had a lot of fun. I liked the build that I had. Invito, I will invite. Inviter. I hope they don't bring all the gods to release. Take their time. I also hope they take their time with it, but what's the best example that I have? Like, most gods in Smite, I feel like, are already like done. You don't have to. There's some gods in Smite you don't need to change. Just port some of the easier ones in the beginning, and or they could like just focus on like one difficult and one easy, and just port the easy one and focus on developing the one they want to make changes to, instead of accessing all gods like one by one. Should we change something? Do we have to change something? No, you don't actually have to change something. Some gods are literally perfect. There's some gods you don't need to change. I think Susano recently is a good example. They didn't change Susano at all practically. They just changed like something. They just make some things bigger and some things smaller, like smaller or bigger, I should say. And I think that's just fine. I guess the big thing is the visual upgrades of the characters. They have to go through making the model bigger, or not bigger. Just make them bigger. Make them look better. But what do I know? I don't know what goes into the process of making it, but I do hope that I can throw out some gods a bit faster. Let's do Hades again. I think bringing Morrigan so early was a mistake. I kind of agree. I see both, like, two sides of it. One, why would you bring Morrigan in so early? She's kind of one of the most bulky / difficult characters to implement into Smite. But look at the other side. Morrigan is one of the most difficult gods to put into Smite, and has always been one of the most buggy. I feel like those two kind of could be the reason why you shouldn't, and the reason why you should do it. If you can make sure that Morrigan works from the beginning, big thumbs up. But there's also the chance that she doesn't. And so far, she hasn't worked very well for me. So, we'll see. I do actually have to try Morrigan again. I will do that sometime tonight, I think. They have Ares. Man, I hate dealing with Ares so much. I really don't want to have to go beats, but... How much might 1 MR do we have? I think I lost my last 2 games yesterday. Oh, not yesterday. The day... Actually, no, yesterday. I think I'm down to 24. Because I lost 2 games. Yeah, this game just isn't Smite to me, so it's different but the same. I agree. It is different to be... It's different enough to be something different. For sure. I'll do Blink. Screw it. We're doing Blink.
Taste.
Grab this. And grab this. Yep. We're ready. We're ready. Can you repeat that? I was tapped out. 2400 or something like that. Because I lost my 2 games yesterday, and I was about the 20... I'm pretty sure I was at 2566 before I lost those 2 games. So I would imagine I'm at the high 24s. Hey, Corn, what's up, man? I'm having a great day. I hope you're having a nice day as well. Good to see you. Oh, we're starting in lane, my friend. Also, that Chuck skin is great. I think it looks really fucking cool. I just don't want to spend stuff on Smite things anymore. I'm heavily leaning towards Sunder in general, man. I have to admit that. Sunder feels really good in solo. Because you're losing so much of the wave by doing blue buff at any point. It's really weird. The wave kills itself so fast. Or they kill each other really fast. Sunder makes you lose nothing. Any news on the Gamehunter is hacking? Not as far as I know, no. Not as far as I know. I'm not sure they will tell me if anything happens with it either. And I'll mention again for the people that don't know. I've tweeted out, for the people that have, like, follow my Twitter, should know, but there is a Lobby Crasher running around with my name at the moment. It is not my account, obviously. At least for the people that know me, should know. But it is happening at the moment. If I'm streaming, you know it's like, if you see a Game Hunter in your game and I'm streaming, take a look, right? Because I'm not playing rank outside of streaming at all. Yeah, I'm not getting this one. Do your wave. I'm going home. He combat blinked for this? I'm using my pots. Man, why is this thing ranged? Go away. Stop hitting me. But yeah, we should definitely queue again now. I'm down. My only problem at the moment is obviously that I feel like every game that I join at the moment there's just lobby crashing or hacking in the game. So rank just hasn't been very appealing the last about 4 days or so. And also, while I have people here, I am not streaming the next 3 days. Damn, Susano. No follow-up?
Seek out the weaker soul.
Yes, I know how that sounds, but next 2 days I will be quite busy with things, and I need at least 1 day off, so I will be taking 1 day off in between my busy stuff. And then I have a birthday I have to attend to pretty much all day. So, next 3 days, meaning Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That being said, without naming who I will be playing with, I will be playing in the tournament of Smite 2 tomorrow. So, if you still want something, hopefully we will make it further than the first round. But we'll see what happens with that. We're obviously not an experienced, super experienced team or anything, but we'll have some fun.
Killing spree.
No! Fear doesn't last long enough. I was hoping to snack that real fast. But I'm going home now. So yes, that's pretty much all my current news. And in case people don't want me to say who we are playing, or who I'm playing with, then I'll keep it anonymous, but I will be in the tournament. So keep an eye out, if that is of interest to you. Is it what I think it is? Yeah, it is. It is. -1. Because 1 was MIA. Time to get a Penta in the final. Yes. I always plan for Pentas in finals. I don't want them before the finals. Loud as motorcycles. Sorry if you guys heard that. Sometimes it happens. People who are definitely deaf needs to turn their bikes all the way up so everyone can hear it. I'm sorry, deaf people. I mean, no disrespect. He's a tanky Chuck, I'll admit. What are you building, Mr. Chuck? Oh, just that. Never mind. Close.
Enemy ultimate down. Cancel that.
Damn. Oof. Shouldn't even have combat blink, to be honest. I just did it just in case. I didn't know if there was any follow-up. Dude, Susano! Why are you spagging next to me? Alright. Probably some physical. I imagine Chuck is going physical. No, strength. Strength, excuse me.
Is under attack.
It is Chuck as well. I'm just gonna go Hussar's Wings again. Give me this slow immune, please. I need it against Chuck. The game feels a lot slower now, it's true. It only feels slower because how can I put this? I pretty much use this comparison every single time. If you know how it feels, you know. If you play on an NA server when you're EU, you're probably gonna have between 150 to 200 ping. That's how it feels playing Smite 2 for the most part. They did make it a bit better. I used to say it felt like 200 ping, now it feels like 100 ping. It is very close to feeling as snappy, but it only feels slow because of that, in my opinion at least. I wouldn't say it's slower normally. You can do stuff just as fast, is that it feels like there's a slight lag to everything. But that was significantly improved in the last alpha, and this alpha is pretty much the same as the last alpha. So I don't feel a better change, but it still just feels good, but it could feel better, for sure.
Enemy missing.
No! My dash missed. In the first alpha, another thing. In the first alpha, I couldn't hit a fucking auto attack from if my life depended on it. Now I can actually kind of box. It feels much better. So I hope that somewhat gives you a better idea of what I'm trying to say. Yeah, minion pathing sucks in Smite 2. That's something I will openly say, to be honest. Minion pathing is pretty fucking weird in Smite 2. No, my tower things. I can see when they run out, so it should be good. My tower poops. Give me the tower poops. Very nice. Tanked for a little longer than I should have probably,
Your
but
middle tower is under attack.
all good. Talking about core gameplay mechanics mostly. What do you think feels slower in Smite 2 than Smite 1 in terms of core mechanics? Because I'm not sure what core mechanics you're referring to. I'm gonna snack this one back real fast.
Attack middle lane.
Yeah, Jack doesn't damage me anymore.
Is now mine.
Damn, the Kukulkan all out of nowhere. Dog, what are you doing, man? What the dog doing? Hmm? Why are you sneezing on my feet? Huh? Jungle Camp's a bit hard to kill, while Waves being easier to kill. Tower doing no damage. Yeah, you're right. There's definitely some weird things, but I'm not sure what you mean by making it slower. I would say the towers doing barely no damage incentivizes diving, making the gameplay faster, in my opinion. Or more aggressive, I should say. Not necessarily faster, but more aggressive. Jungle Camps being slower. Yeah, I mean, I kind of see that. Sometimes they're a bit...
Rampage.
take a bit too long. I can agree with that. And waves definitely kill each other way too fast.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Honestly, I think the wave part is probably my biggest problem with Smite 2 in terms of, let's say, higher level mechanics. Because the waves killing each other so fast means I don't want to rotate, because then I'm gonna miss so much fucking XP. And I don't like that. That's a bit annoying.
Ultimate is ready.
Classic. A target for Kukulkan while Hades ulting. Who would have thunk? At least not anymore. Now I can actually respond because I can dash. And if I wasn't stupid, I could have done it right there. What is that thing called again?
Has destroyed a
I already forgot what that item is called. What was the polymorph item? Why do I keep forgetting its name?
unstoppable.
This one. Circle. I just gotta write circle. Does it turn to Loki item? There is a stealth item, yes. There is. It is specifically intelligence based, so you obviously you can't buy it on someone like Loki. Because he needs strength, or he scales with strength. But on tanks, yes, you will be able to buy this item. And some mages. Because it is an item I continue to show you here. The item gives you 90 intelligence, as well as a bit of protection. To both. It is a very, very good item, and I doubt most... I actually think most mages will probably build this. Because it's just good. And it gives you a good amount of power. Well, unfortunate. I tried to ult just to peel off Chuck, but Kukulkan ults got him in the end. Feels bad to be Chuck. Chuck feels slightly weird in this meta for sure. Or in this meta. In Smite 2, I think. He feels kind of weak.
Destroyed the gold fury.
Damn. They stole gold. Unfortunate.
Right back.
Enemy missing left.
Just grab all of this, and I want... I want the intelligence item that gives me lower cooldown on my ult specifically. This one. So there's this item that will give you 115 intelligence, and my ultimate cooldown is reduced by 20%. That's just really nice to have on someone like Hades, where most of your kit is based around your ultimate. Yeah, no, yes, Visby, that's another good point. One thing I think Smite Twitch has done is trying to overcomplicate things in the very beginning. I don't like how some abilities are straight up split in scaling. So Chuck's healing is in some parts of it based on intelligence, while others are strength. And then you have Odin, who is also a god that has his 3, for example. The pulsing on his abilities are based on... Oh, I'm dead. The pulsing on Odin's 3 is based on strength, no, intelligence, and while the spear throw is based on strength. I think that's weird. Every ability should be based on the same thing. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just because we're used to that. But it's a bit weird. It's just kind of weird. Yeah, playing full damage feels bad and you're 2... Damn, on Bacchus you're 2 scales with strength. That's so weird. Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. But maybe it's also to kind of try and negate building a full damage Bacchus that will just kill everything type of thing. Try and balance it out a bit more. Because no god, I feel like one-shots in Smite 2. It's very not a one-shot meta, which I think is good. It's way more of a, you know, get cooldowns back faster and try and, you know, outplay them again type of thing. I actually think that in the way how fast people die in Smite 2 isn't that bad. I kind of like it. Yeah, and Neath is also strength in some cases, but I think on Neath it's kind of genius, and I think that's probably what they kind of went for. You can build both. You can either build full strength, full intelligence, or mix. I think that's great. I'm not gonna lie, I think that is great, and it brings a lot of variety to the table. Neath is arguably, or at least in last alpha, was arguably the best god. She's incredibly good. And she still is very good.
Enemy missing.
So, yeah. I think we just need more time to see how things work out.
Attack middle lane.
Damn. I tried. And I'm so gonna die instead. I didn't die. I need to use my actives more, my active items. I honestly keep forgetting them. I don't think I've used a single one. I'm stupid for it.
Shut down.
I'm just gonna use one now to get out of base. This one is fine too. This one has 30-second cooldown. Like, good lord.
On my way.
Oh! For some reason, I saw him. I just didn't think he was an enemy at first. Damn, Fatalis doing the thing that Fatalis does. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of protection. But I also don't think that's gonna help me much. Not against their team comp. I just kind of die anyway. Actually, I could do Helm of Radiance. Yeah, I'll do Helm of Radiance. I'll give it a shot. So when I take physical damage, you gain 5 physical protection for 6 seconds. They go up to 5 times. Might be really nice against an ADC that might be hitting me while I'm ulting. Why is so in hybrid? Well, gods like on her own strength. Since both have hard-hitting abilities, what is true determine if you're if you're strength or int. I don't know what goes through their mind, at least when they're making the decisions. I also think right now they're probably hastily made, just to get put into Smite, and then they can always get it adjusted. Because I don't think either Andre or Kalanos feels bad. I think they're both pretty good. So I don't know. I do, though, simply think that having strength or magical, or damn, strength or magical, physical or magical makes more sense, because it's what we're used to, and I thought that design was just fine. I don't know why Fatalis looks so fucking weird. It's my too, dude. Gods just glide. I don't know what's wrong with it. It looks weird. Yeah, when I mentioned this is just less frames per walk cycle, it definitely is eye-catching. I'll say that much. Damn. Yeah, that's not bad by me, I guess. We didn't have any follow-up for that. Unfortunate. I forgot, is this AoE? No. It's just me. There's another item that also gives movement speed, so essentially a sprint and an item. That's not this one though. Overall, I think a year or two this game could be very good. I agree. I very much agree. I just hope it won't take that long, just because of the states my one is in. You can't not have beats, I guess. Man, I hate this. I hate dealing with Ares in Smite 2. So I guess that's probably what I should have gotten. I need the... what's that item called? I need the item that gives me CC immune as an active. So that's actually kind of just me being stupid. Where is it? Yeah, you and allied gods become immune to impediments. No, that's the wall thing. CC cleansed. This one. Talisman of Purification. There's passive is kind of crazy in Smite 2. Yeah, he just does so much damage. Absolutely insane amount of damage. Let me grab this one. Now I have CC immunity. 80 times. What's up, man? Hope you're doing good. It's going pretty well here. I'm enjoying some Smite too. It's nice. Dude, the active items are so funny. It's definitely a fun factor. I'll admit. You want to queue? Yeah, you can join me. Me and Jack are already in the party. You feeling it? Isn't it good? It is good. It's not better than Smite 1, but it is getting there. And it has a lot of things to play around with. It's definitely it's fun on a very casual level, but there's a lot of unbalance, obviously. I didn't press anything. I'm not. By the way, guys, anyone playing Smite 2 where that happens as well? It keeps popping out with an order not going through. So 2 and 3 feels weird. 3 I agree with, yeah. All the time? Okay. Thank God. You don't get that? Okay. Yeah, it might only happen to a few people, but as long as it's not only happening to me, it's good news to me. Yeah, Neo, you can join us as well once you're out of your game. I'll just wait for Ton here. Whoops. I'm a snipe, but good snipe, and I watch stream. Okay, that's fine. I'll say it as well. Some people think sniping is bad. I don't think sniping is bad. Ghosting is bad. So if you're sniping into the same game, just don't watch the stream. But if you want to be in the same game, try. Just go ahead. Go ahead and try. All right. The thing is, if you're going to be in the same game, I imagine you're on the same skill level. You can't go like snipe anyone you're not like anywhere near in, like mainly in ranked. Like in casuals, who really gives a shit, right? But if people want to snipe in ranked, I'm okay with it as long as people just don't ghost, man. That's fine. Yeah, your homies sniping each other because you have 251. Yeah, that is also very unfortunate if that's actually the case. I used to snipe my friends in Hunt Showdown. That's also a game that's hard to. I mean, sniping it is probably somewhat easy, but also finding your player, like your enemies in that game, can be pretty fucking difficult. And by the time you do, they might already be dead. Such is the, like, I guess, kind of PvE battle royale type of game as it is. Excuse me. But yeah, as I was saying, Neo, we're obviously just gonna queue here since you're already in the game, but I imagine you're probably out by the time we are out of ours. Then we can join up then. Should fit it. Should fit in just fine. Right. I'll probably do a physical this time. Yeah, would often die before finding them. Hunt Showdown is pretty brutal. I played it for a little while because my friend, like one of my friends really loves it. But it wasn't as much for me. I played it about like 20 to 30 hours, so it's still a decent amount. But alright, I said I was gonna play Morrigan, so I'm gonna do Morrigan. I want to see how she feels compared to last time I played her. It might be fixed now though. My problem, I'll just mention it. My problem last time with Morrigan was that when you pressed right click to, you know, choose your next ult, it wouldn't insta press for me. Now it might, because I'm obviously an instant cast, which I wasn't last time, but it would still pop up, and then I had to still, turn the wheel or press whoever I wanted, which was really fucking weird. So, even though I pressed right click on someone I should be turning into those with just one click, that just didn't work. So she still felt bad. But besides from that, like, she felt fine. She didn't have the usual like alt glitches and stuff like that as I've had previously. Yeah, more felt good apart from my decoy. Yeah, actually, I agree. Yes, I don't think the decoy they shouldn't keep walking. It feels strange. Agreed. Basic attack, next ability. Yeah, I mean next ability is the only one that really makes sense, and more again, I feel like. Right. I don't really have a build in mind for Morrigan, but I'll go with it. Let's see what item we're looking for.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes.
There's a snake in my lane.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Big boy orc. But hey, Benji. Didn't notice your message. Sol? Oh, we got a mage. I got a mage. Sol in here.
Have spawned.
We foresee a battle here.
Morgan's clear in Smite 2 is also kind of pog. Just because of her passive.
Attack.
She groups them up pretty easily. And it's nice. Also, speaking of another change I haven't even thought about. Creeps aren't being as weird as they used to. In Smite 2, creeps were super far apart when they ran in lane. They aren't that far apart anymore. Yeah, they're not that far apart anymore. It was really weird and very awkward. To the point where I did not understand why they would ever change it to be that way.
First blood.
I just realized, Visby is in our team. Nice snipe. It's also her beats.
We foresee a battle here.
Attack middle lane. No problem.
Right, so probably Thanatos being the good one to turn into here. I don't even know which one I should start with. It will be a good start on Morgan.
Attack middle lane. Attack.
I'll grab this one for the solo, I guess. The boxing potential. A little bit of attack speed. Probably not the best on Morgan though. But I don't know what else to buy.
Killing spree.
I know I need Poly, but I don't need that yet.
Stop right there!
Give me these. You still get the actives as well. I don't know why. Why do we get the actives?
Your left tower is under attack.
Makes us feel alone.
I'll go back. That's kind of a sloppy exchangeman overall. I played that one like shit. Yeah, I have no idea. I guess I'll just do a Doom Orb. Or Eldritch Orb. Excuse me.
Killing spree.
Cancel that. You're killing it.
Enemy miss. Cancel that. Enemy spotted. Be right back.
No fun!
Shut down.
Shut down. Damn. Jack. Factually feeding over there.
Attack middle lane. Attack middle lane.
Yeah, that's the thing, Syndron. So far, that seems to be the intention. And it should not be a thing. You can literally turn into someone and use their actives and their item actives as well. Not just their actives, also their item abilities.
Killing spree. Your team destroyed a left enemy tower.
It's not me, man.
One can never have
Wrong
too
Morgan.
many weapons.
I'm going for jungle buff.
Morgan literally turns into a copy of whoever she turns into. So that just includes item actives as well as their actives. So you can use Sunder if they have Sunder. Like, it's weird.
Attack! Attack!
Rampage.
Item active you can get behind. I think my problem with it is that some of those active items are super good. And if you get those, like let's say Morgan turns into someone who has, like the thing is she's gonna have some herself, right? So she's gonna be able to get it, like two sets of those too. I just think that's too much. Some of them are giga powerful. Also, what in the world is... Bro, her ult cooldown is insane. Is it like that in Smite 1 as well? Is it 140 seconds cooldown? At rank 1? That is insane. Is it that bad?
Your team has destroyed a
It's the same? Holy shit. I need cooldown on this god. Beats.
On my way.
Dude, the slow. No, I am bad. And I'm out of mana. Alright.
No fun!
Wonderful.
I wasted so much resource on that. Way too many resources.
Sorry.
for a kill that I don't really need. Yeah, I still got it. I had to get it for my pride after that. Intelligence, intelligence. I guess I could just get Polly now. I could also go for something like this. Actually, yes, why the hell wouldn't I go for something like this? No! Okay, whatever. Look at the theater here. Only 2 deaths right there. His name is right there, by the way. Yeah, GG's. I'm not ordering anything. I can't even order anything here if I wanted to. Alright, are you out now? Or are we, should we just go again? Not yet? Okay. Alright. Morrigan feels alright though. I still think she's kind of awkward when she turns into a god. But that hasn't really changed. Like, she does that weird thing where she almost like, she's just into them in the air and then she has to like land back down. I never thought that was kind of clean. Morrigan is still weird. Yeah, I don't mind her too much. But it's definitely, I agree with the earlier chatter who said that putting her in now is a ballsy move. I agree with that. Yeah, I also think Morrigan is up there. She's very good. I also just think some gods are very dominant at the moment in Smite 2. Looking at someone like Ares with the ultimate, looking at someone like Hades with the ultimate, potentially like a double Odin ultimate, shit like that. It's gonna be massive in some games. And Morrigan lets you do that twice. So, I think Morrigan is pretty good. Especially in a coordinated team. So, but I can see that in a few different ways at the moment, because Hecate's ultimate is also completely busted. Hecate's ultimate is fucking disgusting. No joke. Her ult is broken. I can see that they would want her early just to see if they can make her work. Like, she is definitely the hardest god for them probably to implement into Smite. Or probably has been the hardest god for them to implement as well. Alright, let's see. I guess I'll try Ares. I haven't tried him myself yet. Also, this man is shadowed out. Why is he so dark? It's probably the background, but still. It's kind of ominous and menacing. Standing there in the dark. So, the few things I know so far, going against Hades, or against Ares rather, is that his chains hurt like shit. His ultimate has a weird new animation. I'm not really sure if I like it. I don't know anything about his 2, and the fire seems to be the same as well. So, I'm doing Sunder on him, because I am solo. I don't know. Probably Barbarian, to be honest. I'll do Archmage. Hello, Seagull, my friend. How are you doing today? Let's see, what are we grabbing up here? Can we get something with protection from the get-go? I could. I definitely could. Yes. For now, I'll just obviously just do rank 1, but new Ares running animation looks good. I like it. It's less awkward than his Smite 1 version, so I think this is an improvement. Ares has the same passive in Smite 2. Let's see. How do I check? Ares provides strength and intelligence, and aura provides more strength as Ares builds protections, provides more intelligence as Ares builds CDR. Both increase with level. I do not know if this is different. It's different. Okay. We have shackles. They still cripple. They seem to be pretty much the same thing. I'm gonna need fire probably for level 1. Fire is also the same and does HP based. HP based scaling. Bro, that's not bad. That's not bad, level 1 clear, man. Ares solo might be a thing. Great. Ares confirmed top solo. Shit, man. I guess I might need to play some Ares. Oh, Taint is slow. I gotta use that. Chains are slightly slow. They don't shoot out as fast. Yeah, okay.
This too shall
Close call.
Okay. No, dude. One day I will land. Just one.
to the death.
Okay, I don't like how the chains feel so far. They're very slow. Like unnaturally slow for me. I'll grab this one first, I guess. Get some double protection going. You can flame and one while... Okay, I see. So you can flame while using your... Or you can chain while flaming, I should say. Okay. Yeah, I think it's gonna feel much better once I get used to the timing of the chains. I might just have to go face to face and hit the chains up close.
Look out for spies.
Yeah.
You exceed my expectations.
Creeps. Stop.
Your left
Attack
tower
left
is under
lane.
attack.
Cancel that. Back.
Yes. Chains do so much damage. Chains. Yeah, melee range that shit. That makes it so much easier. Because it just... The projectile seems really slow to me. Uh-oh. There we go. Just had to make sure that I dodged his one. Run, Ares, run. I'm also gonna need Hussar's wings, I think, in this one.
Glorious. focus.
They have a lot of slows. Yeah, there's old chains. Any CC manager will break the chain. Yeah, I remember how. I do remember people saying that to me as well. So yeah, they work pretty much just like a dodgy chain. I think that's good, to be honest. I do. It is definitely a nerf, but I think a necessary change.
Attack left on my way.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Killing spree.
The death.
Didn't even bother ulting. Or dodging, for that matter. Yeah, just a little bit of damage. Well, it's not anything insane, but you know, it's seems balanced enough.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I like it. It's just funny. Of all the things on Ares that end up being the broken part, it was his chains. I would have expected the ult to have something new, or like something was added to his 2 maybe, or something like that. That would be the new busted thing, but nah. Chains, bro, chains. Alright, let's see. I wonder if I can kill him in a single ult.
Middle on my way. My mistake.
I can with the help from Sunder and Fire.
Enemy
Sunder just makes everything worse as well. You just get another dot. Yeah, Sunder gives does a dot. Yeah, Sunder is just busted at the moment. I think it's really good for solo too, because it literally makes invading the easiest thing ever. Because it's also Hawk. Sunder is very powerful. It loses its purpose going into well, it doesn't lose its purpose, but it lessens its purpose once you go into like team fighting. But you can still use it as an objective secure, so it's still very good.
That's too bad.
Oh. Chains, no! Oh. I should have just backed and finished my item. I was greedy for an extra wave.
On my way.
Let's get some more protection. Yeah, Hussar's Wings, I think, is the best thing I can go with here. Yeah, we still, the thing is, Sigil, look at it's 1,000 damage. Like, you get a free bomb, or you just hawk back, right?
Your right tower is under attack.
If only, like, I think, at the moment, one team should have a Sunder. And I think it makes most sense to have it in either, obviously, duo or solo. And I think it's quite nice to have in solo, but you kind of become the objective secure with this.
Play. That's too bad.
You might not want that on your solo as well. It could be the big support thing, but still. I suppose teams will figure that out. But it does a lot of objective damage. 1,000 objective damage. Like, we're kind of going back to the old Hog, where the only thing that will ever be able to beat that is going to be something like a Thuthold or a Kukulkan ult.
Your enemies close. Shut down.
And if you have 2 of them, well, good luck. Right, good luck, enemy team. You're never going to be able to secure this. Does this still give HP 5? Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, it doesn't give HP 5 anymore.
Well played.
Enemy ultimate incoming. Enemy ultimate down.
Oh, they have 2 people DC'd already? Yikes.
Rampage.
I'm guessing... I cleansed it. Okay. Still did so much damage. I do have some levels on her though. I think Ares with stealth is fun.
My mistake.
Definitely. It's great. You know, play with Old Hog. I see. Yeah, Old Hog was... The thing is, I've said it a million times in this stream already. I didn't like any of the metas where Hog was a thing. It incentivizes invade metas heavily. I don't have chains. No change yet.
My mistake.
I'm out. If I changed, it would have been fine.
On my way. Unstoppable.
Yes, Acetol also would be able to contest. That's true. No, I was... no, I didn't feed. The two other people fed. But I did feed a little bit. I almost fed even more, though. You're still not done? Well, this one might actually be my last, though. But we'll see. It depends on how fast it is. I'll probably be playing for about 30 more minutes. Because I actually have to go to bed at a decent time. Max joining? Alright, I'm waiting. I'll give you a lead then, Jack. Oh, push with a ton of power. Well, push is never going to be able to get it off. People are just going to remove the corpses. Like, there's definitely some things. Like, you can also mistime it. There is also, if you have two Hawks and people both use them at the same time, there is obviously a very, very, very small time frame where you can be lucky enough to still steal it in between, right? So that can still happen. And we've seen it happen too sometimes. You have like a Rouse Snipe that essentially lands at the same time as something else lands, but the Rouse Snipe didn't exactly finish it and someone else gets it with like 20 HP left, you know? Shit like that. Yeah, 2 into 3 feels so slow. There is a delay between 2 and casting the 3, so you have to hit the 3 now. Yeah, Susano, I actually think Susano is pretty weak in Smite 2. I don't think he's better than someone like Fenrir. I could be wrong though, but that's just my current impression. I think Susano is easier to lock down, because Odin exists, you have someone like Ares already, you have Ymir, like he can be walled off, he can be crippled. I think Susano struggles in this. Fenrir is the difference with Fenrir is that he's got a CC ult that he can use to get away from stuff. He's much safer. He's got a jump as well to go over walls. Susano feels honestly kind of weak at the moment. Maybe not weak. Maybe weak is the wrong word, but he's not as good as the others, I think. Yeah, he has to be faster. He has to be faster animations and more damage. Right now, sucks. Sus feels awkward and weak. Yeah. Your leader again? Okay. Why don't you want to be leader, Jack? Just press the button. Press the button, man. I always forget to queue. Why am I leader? This is a bad idea. I'm dripping water over myself. Alright. Who next? Like, I might actually just do Ares again. I didn't get a whole lot of time with him in here, so I'll see if I can grab Ares once again. Are you not in game yet? Well, now we're 5, so I don't know who Bossman Chefman is, but we're 5 now, I guess. Yeah, it's probably only gonna do one last game anyway, I'm thinking. It really depends on how long this one is. But yeah, sorry, Neil, we'll grab you on next time. And yeah, you can also try to snipe. That is welcome. Feel free to snipe. We go all night. I can't. You weren't here when I said it though, Siggo, but I won't be streaming for the next 3 days. I will be busy, and in between the busyness, I'm gonna need a break. So I will not be streaming for the next 3 days. And on Monday, I'm attending a birthday for my little brother, so I won't be able to stream that day. So, I am sorry, guys. That being said, if you're interested, I will be in the tournament tomorrow in Smite too. So, hopefully, we'll manage to get further than the first round, but we'll see. Maybe you will see more of me in the tournament, but I wouldn't count on it. What's my roster looking like? I don't know if I should reveal it. It depends on if they want to reveal it. I don't know. I haven't asked. I won't say it unless I know I am allowed to. Some hidden SBL talent. Yeah, you know, like, have you ever heard of adapting? You ever heard of adapting, Nika? Yeah, for sure, Neo. We can definitely do it. I'm down. It's gonna be much nicer as well having a duo queue again, so I can rely on a teammate for sure. Probably won't be in the next 3 days though. Sorry. I do apologize. Damn, Gunter X Gunter. Yeah, that would be crazy, huh? It's gonna be some kind of meme if it ever happens. Everyone's going to run Sunder in the tourney for sure. I don't think so. I still think Combat Blink takes the edge, just by a tiny amount. But I think you kind of need to have at least one or two. I feel like any team that has experience with the big hog metas will run two. Just based on how that meta went. You needed two to secure objectives. Otherwise you literally had zero chance. It was absolute garbage. Commander feels like a shorter range. Yes, it was. It was also just nerfed. It went from like 7.2 to 5.6. It was just nerfed. Which I think is good. Because that shit was broken. And it still is broken. Because it's Comet Blink. Comet Blink shouldn't be in Smite. I don't think it should be. And I think I'm in the minority for that. A lot of people love Combat Blink. I don't. Sorry. But I don't. Yo, brother, these creeps, what the fuck? They're doing so much damage. Why are creeps broken in Smite 2? And they kill... The two archers almost killed a minion. A front minion. Archers are broken. I swear. I think regular Blink is more fun for the game. I think so too. Well, we don't need to talk about that one.
First blood.
Why are you not juking, man? Alright, have fun. Man, I should have had that killed long ago. I just can't hit a fucking chain. Big sad.
Attack on my way.
Oh shit, they have beep bop.
Enemies have returned
Damn.
to base.
To the death.
Should I just do the same thing? Probably. Though it might be bad. Actually, no, I should be building something different. I should probably be building a Helm of Radiance instead. As the first item if I want damage. Yeah, they changed way too much. Just baby steps, man. Like, Smite 2 practically felt like a completely new game in the first alpha. It wasn't good. And it also felt, you know, bad on top of that.
To the death.
So good. Yummy.
Yeah, me.
Yummy. Yeah, like free. Yummy.
Yeah, they changed the way too much damage. It is, no, it's balanced. It is pure skill, what you see on screen. And that's all there is to it.
Your left tower is under attack.
How's the matchmaking? It actually feels better this time. Like, sometimes, yeah, you do get people who aren't on the same skill level, but right now it actually feels alright. Speeds. I'm just gonna have ult for next time, so... Good beats.
That was a close call.
Killing spree. Your right tower is under attack. Killing spree.
Hold the line.
Madge! Change, you betrayed me.
You can't take down the god of war that easily.
Killing spree.
Bang. That's too bad.
Like, I've mentioned this a few times. I think the biggest step for them, and the biggest step it will be for the general populace, and just overall casual players, who aren't willing to spend money to get into the alpha, will be when the open beta hits. The open beta needs to slap, because so many people will base Smite off of that open beta. It needs to hit, man.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Smart. It's so silly. It's so fucking silly. Okay.
Be careful, middle. Okay.
Yes, the invisible areas we always knew we wanted. Who didn't want this? You're bullying at this point? Well, I'm playing Ares, so I don't have a choice. This is what Ares does. Whether I want to or not. It's in my blood. I am the god of war. I must make war. I didn't even have to sunder him. The chains do so much damage. They're ticking for 100. Or like 94. And yeah, I mean at this point there is a pretty clear level difference. So.
Killing spree.
Let's see if I can grab some of this tower now. I still don't think I like the tower pooping gold. I'm not gonna lie. Mostly because they just disappear. They do incentivize you needed to like push, but they give so much gold, dude. They just you can snowball so much out of it. Ah, I think she saw me. I'm sorry, man. I do feel bad. Also, now when you beats, like, it doesn't even do any damage to you. Like, the chains just don't hit you at all. They just get completely cleansed. I think for the most part, the strength intelligence is alright. I think we need time to settle into it. I think my main problem with it is when a single ability does both on different things of the ability. Like, some parts of the ability do strength and some parts do intelligence. I think it's silly. I think it's super silly. But overall, I think it's fine. I don't think it's horrible. Oh, Bellona dipped.
Double kill.
Like 100 gold each for those? Like, I'm rich. On top of that, the gold the tower itself also gives gold. Odin. Is he hiding? That he has the Amita flower. Amanita flower. That still heals quite a bit.
Be careful.
Did you publish the clip correctly? You mean the point one? I'm not sure. I can check. I can check. Let me grab some more protection overall here.
Guy.
Gonna do Hussar's Wings again. The slow immunity on the low mobility guards is just so good.
Attack middle lane.
Attack middle lane. Do they plan on adding some in-game stuff to buy? I believe so, yeah. I think there is... again, I think it's important that we emphasize it being an alpha. Because an alpha is in a barely playable state for the most part.
Unstoppable. Destroyed a middle enemy tower.
So I'm pretty sure that most of the stuff that we see, like they're adding things slowly, but right now you can pretty much only buy a few things when you hit max. They're still trying to figure things out, so.
Attack right lane. Ultimate is ready. Okay.
Come back!
Okay. You're welcome.
Quiet.
I mean, I think we talked about it before. I do think Hyris are kind of in a... It's just pure speculation, and maybe I shouldn't even be saying stuff like this, but I feel like they're pretty desperate, because Smite is not in a good state. So they kind of wanted this out quick, which is why it is also a paid alpha. It's not just a sign up and hope to get a key type of thing. It is literally a paid alpha, right? So either way, they have made money off of Smite too. I probably need some cooldown, honestly, a bit earlier than this. Chain is such a long cooldown. 15 seconds. Let me grab some... Let's see. Protection, as well as... cooldown rate. I mean, I have Providence... I don't know. I mean, a silence for Ares? Sure, why not? Give me a silence, brother. Breastplate is good CDR, that's true. Yeah, Breastplate is also nice for CDR. I don't know, why didn't Breastplate pop up, actually? Oh, it's because it's physical. Yeah. Yeah, Breastplate is probably the best one, I guess, to go with. Enemies are slowed as well. This one is actually, like, Pharaoh's Curse is pretty good as well. Because Hunters are very strong late game in Smite 2, as well as they are in Smite 1.
Group up.
Enemy ultimate down.
Oh. Dude, one chain, I know I'm 4 levels higher, but one chain and just a little bit of fire did 60% of his HP. Okay, once again, this one was pretty fast. In like less than 15 minutes practically, so I can do one last. We've pretty much only had super fast games. I'm not buying anything, go away. Alright, let me check that clip. Oh yeah, I see it. 9 minutes ago. Yeah, I'll probably save this clip. It's pretty funny. I'll grab that one for the channel. Yeah, it was just stealth Ares. Alright. Let's see. What can we grab this time? I was kind of thinking Chuck, to be honest. But about that. I haven't played on her in a while. I'll just grab an on her. And I'll play ADC. Grab me an ADC game. I'm gonna steal Mac's role here. I'm not sure Mac noticed or stole his role, but we'll see. Alright, what's this? Fast games. I'm not buying anything. Go away. Fast games. Yeah. I don't know why it's happening. It's only happening to some people. Pen build, or I guess I'll just use the pen build. I can't be asked to think about a build here. I'll grab beats, just for Ares.
I'm happy to grant swift passage to Hades. All you have to
How much do I have? I'll grab another mana
Just what
potion.
I needed.
I'm really good at spamming my abilities and also missing them while I'm doing that, so... Yeah, the way I say it was so funny. It's all good. I want people to take clips of anything they want to take clips of on my channel. And if I like them, and if people find it funny, like, I'll throw it on the YouTube channel. Yeah, Sunder is interesting, but I mean, they used Sunder just to bring back Hog, right? Oh. We're going to lane.
The hunter has become the hunted.
Ooh!
Your left tower is under attack. On my way.
Fuck, man. Why is Thanatos here? What the fuck is this?
Cancel that.
Too good. Fuck, man. Go away. Why are they so ominously just running you down? What the fuck?
I will not be dealt so easily. Your middle tower is under attack. Mine.
You just need level 2? The fuck, man? Yeah, the way Honor walks is pretty funny. I don't think I hate it, but I kind of miss the old one. The old one is just so iconic. I think that's honestly how I'm gonna feel with a lot of gods in Smite 2.
completed.
I miss grouping up
I'm over it.
jungle camps. I do. I went for the Thana, still didn't get him. Thana is not leaving. The impale. I'm greedy. I'm sticking around. You ready for some outplays here, guys? They aren't even trying. They aren't even going for the... Damn, look at that. Alright, I have it on auto buy this time. I can't be asked to look at all the items for ADCs and think of a build right now.
Gank.
Yeah, Morrigan's ult felt much better this time. I agree.
Have fun.
On my way. Shut down.
That is
God.
Enemy missing right.
that is too bad.
You don't like the new on-her ults in there? I like it. I do like how the new one is, to be honest.
Right back. Enemy ultimate down.
The pillar is not going where I wanted. Oops. I think on her, his oldest one I actually think feels best, oddly enough. Get him!
Set up an ambush.
Alright, he's got him.
Okay.
Ultimate is down. Ultimate is ready.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower.
I think it could feel a little better.
Okay.
I think Honor's ult is... I think it's a good change, at least in my head. It's a bit more, I guess, much easier to hit. It might not be as satisfying to use, but I think it's more the sound effect than anything, because before it literally just sounds like you're firing like
That is too bad.
cannon shots
Can't
after
stay
cannon
to
shots.
affairs.
It just sounds great. This one isn't as, like, heavy to me just yet. But this is a criticism I've had since the very beginning. I think a lot of animations are great, but the impact that is supposed to be there just isn't there. It feels like a lot of the animation lack impact to me. And it's pretty much all in the sound effects.
Attack!
The sand.
Killing spree.
Damn. I cannot hit areas, I guess.
Killing spree.
I still think Impale feels kind of weird. It definitely does not feel as good in any way to me. Impale is what's awkward for me.
Killing spree.
We both suck. Yeah, Ranger is a bit strange. I do agree. The fact that it's range-based is a bit weird. Damn, I can't even hold over it. Jesus Christ, like, all these are super fast. Now we have reached my last game. Now I'm out of time. This will be the last. And this way, we have essentially done 4 games in the time I would normally do 1. No. Yeah, it's gonna be the last. The last stream forever. In 3 days. Then I'm gonna go and I'm not gonna play Smite, except I will probably play a bit of Smite, just not on stream. And I will not be doing ranked. So. But obviously I am gonna play Smite. I want to play Smite. But I just won't be able to play it long enough to also stream at the same time. I'll be able to do a few games here and there. See you in forever. I will see you guys in forever. But yes, in all seriousness, I will just be back on Tuesday. As far as I remember, I don't have anything on Tuesday. So, I'll just be back then. It is not impossible. There is a small chance that I can stream tomorrow, but don't expect it. And even if I have the window to do it, I might just take the time to relax. Because I've been going pretty ham on streaming lately. I haven't taken a whole lot of days off. Which is obviously a good thing. Like, I do it because I enjoy it. But, yeah. I gotta make sure that I keep my mental under control as well. And I need to fix my sleep schedule. Because it's still bad. But it's gonna be easier now that I have water back. Because one of the big problems was, when I had to go to bed, you know, usually you use water a lot for stuff when you go to bed. Like, you know, just brushing your teeth, going to the bathroom like one last time, shit like that. I couldn't do that without going all the way outside and all the way down. I live on the 4th floor. So it was just really annoying. I kept delaying it sometimes. Like, I was really tired, I didn't feel like doing shit, and I had to go all the way down, all that stuff. I just kept delaying it, and it fucked my sleep schedule in the end. And then combine that with streaming.
Odin.
Yeah. It just got real bad. Yeah, damn, I'm yawning too. That's bad. Yeah, I'll do Odin. Odin. Yeah, mental health is important. Do not take it for granted. It's granted. Gotta take care of yourself. Especially if you don't have anyone else looking out for you anymore. Like me. I don't have parents anymore. I gotta look out after myself. Gotta be the bigger person for myself. Do I need beats against areas dude as Odin? Can I get pulled in my ult? It's probably fine. I'm sure it's fine. I'm gonna try the same thing. Grab me. Probably this bad boy. Maybe not. Maybe I just go for this one. This one is probably the best choice.
I may or may not.
Be drunk.
Oh yeah!
Minions have spawned.
Looks like I'm not against anyone.
First
Oh yeah!
Enemies in middle lane.
Okay!
Then they're losing their blue buff.
Enemy missing left. Enemy missing right.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Gank!
Dude, no one is here. Oh, now Saul is coming. We've reached a time frame, I guess, where all the good players have dipped. Or we're just unlucky with matchmaking, that's also a thing. I see that autos are still being weird sometimes.
Left lane! My way!
I don't have anything.
That's too bad! That's too bad.
Couldn't see anything. Yeah, whatever. I wanted to save Sunder. I'll just Sunder. Whoops. I keep forgetting I have instant cast and notice jump. I'm not used to that. It's not good. I'm just wasting my jump. I also really need to trim my beard, because that has been uncontrolled while the renovation was happening. I refused to shave while I had no water, because it's just really bothersome for me to do.
So fun!
Sorry!
Bring it down!
That's too bad!
Not close enough.
Complete.
Killing spree!
Alright. I am backing. Have fun.
Tower is under attack! Attack! Okay! Bye!
I have nothing. Magical protection of some kind.
Thanks!
They do have Ares.
Killing
I don't actually know what I want here.
You're welcome.
You're as solid as a rock.
I'll try and grab this one. At least then I have the CC immune online. Sol is still in lane with no HP.
Your team has destroyed a middle
Because
enemy
eventually I'll be dealing with that Ares somewhere. Maybe not, they might surrender, but... Suppose I'll just have to build it anyway, in case I do run into him. Yeah, no, it's fine. Like, my whole not having parents thing isn't new. I lost my mom five years ago to cancer, so it's nothing new. It was one of the reasons why I like originally stopped streaming, because I just weren't in the mood for it. It took me about 2 years to really get past it. But I'm fine. It's not new. I'm good. My dad hasn't been in my... Like, he's not dead, but he hasn't been in my life for a long time. He was slightly abusive. So, that's a long ago. That's a long time ago. I haven't seen him for about 15 years. 16 years-ish. Oh, it's all good. The only thing now is that I have a soft spot in series and video games for mothers. I'm weak as shit. I'm gonna start crying if mother stuff happens. That's my weakness now. I just have an added debuff. Does Sol go through? I forgot. She does, yeah. She might heal it. She did, yeah. I thought she would. Did you ever play Life is Strange? I haven't played it, but I have watched playthroughs of like the first two. At least the very first one that came out, yes, because it was super popular. So yeah, I did.
Unstoppable.
But no, I haven't really played it. I'm not really much into the like I love story games specifically, but I'm more into, shall we say, action games. That is kind of like my prime. I prefer action games, but I don't mind story games. I have a hard time, this might be just because I'm autistic as fuck, but I have a hard time enjoying a game if I'm not engaged in it. Which is why I saw them originally as like just a playthrough, because then I can just treat it like a series, right? Instead of actually having to play it myself. Hope you still got a safety net of family like homies. I do have one really nice friend. I have two brothers, so I'm not completely alone in all this. I have two nice brothers, and my little brother's birthday we will be having on Monday, which is one of the reasons why I can't be here on Monday. So yeah, don't worry. Like, I'm good. I'm a generally very happy person. It takes a lot for me to get down. I'm easily stressed, but that's different. I'm easily stressed, but generally I'm good at distracting myself if I'm in a bad mood. So, and I have a dog. He also helps. He's my emotional support. I don't want people to think I'm sad, because I'm not. I am generally in a very good mood. Hence the streaming too. If I wasn't in a good mood, I wouldn't be streaming. I would be focusing on my mental health. I have 3 kills this game. You're welcome, team. That's my dog right there. He is a mix of a pug and a Swedish lapdog. This game is so brain dead. Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you know, pre-made in a game with no matchmaking. So, not really much to do about it. Alright, this was my last game though, so I don't know, Jack, if you guys are gonna keep going. I'm just gonna leave if you are. If not, I'm just gonna... yeah, dip. You've been trying to snipe? Yeah. That's fair. We went past midnight. That was kind of my goal here. No more after midnight. I also need to stop myself, because I am enjoying myself. I'm having quite a lot of fun with Smite 2. My main problem, as I've mentioned a few times before, my main problem with Smite 2 right now is that I don't have a god I feel like playing every game. If Vamano was here, I would just play Vamano. No problem there. But I don't have a big solo laner where I'm just like, that's my shit right there. So. Alright, I'll give Jack lead here. Then you guys can continue. Jack, I kind of promised Neo to play some games, so if Neo is around, you guys can grab him. I don't know if he is. But I will be exiting my game here. And you will just see a black screen. But yeah, GG's, guys. It was nice to play with you. And yeah. I will see you guys on Tuesday. No streams for the next 3 days. I'll just mention it one last time. No stream next 3 days. So, but if you're interested, I will be in the tournament tomorrow in Smite 2. So that's about it. Bye, guys. Bye.